Welcome to the NSCHBC Edge Podcast, leading the way in the business of medicine. Now here's your host, Terry Fletcher.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NSCHBC Edge Podcast. I'm your host, Terry Fletcher. The Edge Podcast is brought to you today by the National Society of Certified Healthcare Business Consultants. Our goal is to discuss healthy business principles, have conversations on the business side of medicine, so that you and your practice can be profitable and successful for years to come. As many of you know, the NSCHBC is a proactive organization with over 300 members, including legacy members, that share their wealth of knowledge and expertise with each other, whether it be in legal field, accounting field, the revenue cycle management field, the business management field, value-based care, AI, and more. And we also have healthcare marketing. We have every kind of consultant that focuses on the healthcare industry that you could want. In saying that, I would like to welcome into today's episode of the Edge Podcast, NSCHBC member Carl White of Market Advisory Group, a healthcare marketing company out of Illinois. And we're going to have a chat today about healthcare marketing, which, you know, sometimes I actually, and we were talking offline, I didn't realize that a lot of practices have that. So we're going to talk to Carl about that today. Welcome to the podcast, Carl.
Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. So in saying that, I want to talk a little bit about that. So do you approach clients, or do they search you out when they're looking to maybe capitalize on a market share of patients that they haven't been able to grasp? So, maybe doing well checks for sports, high schools, or something that they're trying to find a value-added service in their population. How does that get approached?
More often, it's in one way or another, we need more patients, even if they don't phrase it that way. Which is not surprising. That's usually what it boils down to. Whether it's
more patients versus more services.
Yeah. Now, I actually, having said that, I've got one client right now where 3 or 4 years ago, they added a new service and it really took off. And they realized, all on their own, they realized the way that nobody really knows about it. It's not the right payer mix we would like. There were a few things, and then they reached out, they found us. So in that case, yes, it was for one service. But for most of our clients almost all of our clients are private practices that have, like one thing, like pediatricians. There's more services you could offer in there, but for the most part, we need more patients for our core services.
Now, I noticed that a lot of practices have really embraced over the last, I would say, 10 years, social media.
Yes.
But to me, social media has the good and the bad.
Yes.
Where
Yes.
not only can you get things out there, if you're using Facebook or, I don't know
Yes.
how active Twitter is, but there's places that definitely, I think Facebook's probably the most popular when it comes to, family stuff and reaching that kind of patient.
Although Insta also, depending on I hate segmenting by demographics, but age matters.
Yeah, age as well. But I've also noticed that TripAdvisor has things, but those are mostly to voice compliments or complaints. So
Yes.
How does that work from a marketing perspective when they say, because it's free. There's not always a cost
Yes.
involved. So how does that work?
How do they kind of get on those places, or
Connect with that without kind of understanding the negative, or what do you have to explain to them? Because there are negative. You're going to get the good and the bad with that.
Yeah, and our clients know that social media in particular you're right. I mean, you could post every minute of the day and still be nowhere. They get that. When we work with clients, this is what I would advise anybody to do. Post an appropriate amount of time. Make most of your posts more educational, because when people choose a doctor, they want to choose somebody they trust, no surprise there, and then stay with them forever, no surprise there. You don't promote a practice in the way you promote a restaurant, for example. You're not promoting the latest deal or discount or the newest sandwich or whatever it is. You're promoting the practice and the values and your expertise and your ability to listen. So be educational. Make sure you're talking about the practice enough so that people get it. Post appropriately. You don't need to reach the whole world. Nobody does. But a practice, in anywhere in the country has a radius, some sort of reasonable radius around its office, and that's where they're going to get the lion's share of their patients. Go win there. Be present there, so that when somebody, recommends you and they look you up on social or wherever for that matter, they like what they see. So the goal is I think the goal is they like what they see. The goal is not to win Facebook, so to speak. So why bother? Why try?
Right.
The way I used to say it is, and this is going to sound counterintuitive for a marketing person, but I'll say it anyway. I didn't care what you were having for dinner before social media ever came along, and I don't care but here we go. I mean, a guy I grew up with who I can't say we reconnected, but he posts the coolest dinner pics, and he goes out a lot where he lives. And maybe I just violated my own maxim there, but you've got to you need to be there because people go to social media to hunt for things that they're interested in, and sometimes for practice. So be there, be up to date, be present, be professional, be educational, and stop, in my opinion. Now, that can change depending on if there's some sort of particular service you really want to promote. You feel that the patients that you want to attract or need to attract are really there more than anywhere else. Hard to figure that out. It's more of a gut feel. Different story then, but that's how I would respond. So what I would say about Google, AI is a whole separate beast, but go where your patients go and present to them the type of practice that you are, so that they can make an informed, quick decision about whether they want to call you for an appointment or not.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying there. And also, one of the things I've noticed for physicians that engage in social media is that some patients want a health question answered on there. And now you've got a HIPAA issue, or they engage in responding to complaints. And to me, because they have control over their page on social media, they can, take those offline and
Yes.
not deal with that. So, how do you talk to them about that? They have to be careful.
Oh, we talk HIPAA. Yes, we definitely do. Another area is the simplicity of responding to a review. You get a great review. You're the greatest doctor ever. You should not reply in anything that discloses the relationship you have with that patient. So you can't, we love having you as a patient. You're awesome. Nope. You can say, thanks very much, and then not disclose. I'm not an attorney. You should consult with your own. But it's the same on social. A patient can say about themselves whatever they want to whoever they want, wherever they want. But the physician or the provider of care, in whatever context, is quite limited on what they can say publicly in response. So you're best to do what you said, which is, let me call you, or let's take this offline somehow, some way. But we do, and I still see both clients and non-clients respond in ways where I go, oof, HIPAA,
Yeah.
because they crossed the
Yeah.
line.
What are you doing? Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
see the same
Don't
thing.
say that, dude. What are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing that I think is also interesting from a marketing perspective is that I think sometimes practices just look at their website and think that they've got everything they need, and then they don't look back at it.
Mm-hmm.
So, once they see that website is done, they're like, okay, that's taken care of. And I think sometimes they have to realize, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but from a marketing perspective, there's so much change in healthcare. There's so many things that need to be updated. Even if you add a practice location,
Mm-hmm.
or if you want to put something out there as far as what are your local community restaurants or places to go when patients are maybe going to the doctor and then going to get a bite to eat or something. That seems like a good way to market your business as well.
So there's sort of the strategic levers, and that's an example of one, which we talk to clients about. Try to work with them on. But going back to, the website that's old and out of date, there's this reflexive mindset, I think, and we're all guilty of it, that says anything, somehow the world online is different than the real world. And it's actually not true. Um, if your waiting room was gross and dingy and ugly and out of date, you would update it and you wouldn't even think twice about it. It's the same with any online property. It's the same with a website, with your social media profile, anything else. The information. Why would you knowingly tell a patient the wrong address of your office? Would you do that? Of course, the answer is no. Well, then why is it wrong in a public place like your website. Just basic sort of, in that case, it's just, why would you project an image that is out of date? Why would you do
Exactly.
that? And when you phrase it that, well, of course I wouldn't. Well, you kind of are over here, so let's go fix that. Um, yeah,
Yeah, because
say
I yeah,
go
I see a lot
go.
of websites that I'm just like, wait, you did that 2 years ago, and I don't see an update. Or, here's a good one. Somebody's added, maybe they're an orthopedic practice and they've added physical therapy to something they do, and they forgot to put it on their website.
Yeah.
Or they have a new office manager and the contact information is inaccurate, or they've taken away a physician, or a physician's
Mhm.
retired, and I just don't see a lot of that being updated. And to me, that all ties back into marketing, or at least, what you're trying to portray to the community, right?
Accuracy of information is sort of a marketing table stakes. It's a table stakes for anything, right? I mean, but you're exactly right. I mean, we've got a few clients that have numerous doctors, numerous providers, and yeah, hey, we just hired this person. Please add him. Hey, that person's gone. Please take him off. Awesome, happy to do it.
Yeah.
The office hours changed of this one, so please update those. Great. Yes. Um, just the basic accuracy of information. And you
I
go back to like you were saying earlier about like an example of a strategic lever, one that it's not even a strategic lever, it's just it's core. This is maybe more for somebody thinking of starting a practice. Please ask yourself, why is a patient going to choose my practice instead of all of my competition wherever I open up? And you need a pretty good answer to that. You need and answers that aren't good are examples are our customer service is going to be better. We're really giving. Um, we've got more experience than anybody else. I was working with a client briefly last fall. They were opening up a pediatrics practice. Within 5 miles, there were 25 to 41 other pediatricians,
Oh,
depending on how you
shoot.
count FTEs.
Oh,
Depending on how you count FTEs.
wow.
And so the question was asked by me, so why are they going to choose you? What's different about you? And the answer was a big blank stare. And, damn, man, like you need an answer. Something's got to be different and valuable
Well, I know that
because
in for California, we have such a melting pot of different ethnicities, and we have everything from Hispanic to Vietnamese to, even we have a very big Russian population in Sikh in San Diego area. And one of the things I noticed with one practice is they didn't actually, and they had people that spoke that language within their practice, physical therapists, nurse practitioners, and they were doing a lot of care management. And I said, you probably should put that on your website. You'd be surprised. This is a huge community in this area. And they said, really? And I said, yeah. And as soon as they did, their practice doubled within 3 months. And people want to be able to communicate with their provider, and, whether it be English or whatever language they're in, and also have staff that can communicate with patients. And I think sometimes that's missed. I think understanding some of the different patient populations out there, if you do anything, like you said, you have to stand out. So, if you are a primary care office, but you also maybe are open on Saturday mornings, and that's really appealing to a lot of patients, or Thursday nights where you're open until 9 o'clock, and you're not really designated as an urgent care, but you're available. I think that would be a great, marketing.
it's got to be something that's valuable.
Yeah.
And you've got to, the practice owner, have to have, if you think X is going to be valuable and different, you better check around to make sure nobody, first of all, check around to make sure none of your competitors offer the same or something very similar, because then it's not really different. And they've got a leg up on you because they're already in your market and you are not yet. Um, then, after that, you really have to know, you've got to know what it is you're going after. Your example of serving a particular community better than anybody else is a great example. You speak the language that they do not. That could be a very big deal.
And
Um,
yeah, that's a big deal.
yeah.
Well, one of the things I noticed, Carl, and this is something that I thought was very odd, especially after the pandemic and all the telehealth stuff, I noticed that practices were putting, for example, on their social media pages that they were telehealth providers, but then it was nowhere on their website. And so it was conflicting. And I think that is not helpful. It has to be consistent all the way through.
It sure does. I mean, if personally, for me, if I see conflicting information, my conclusion is I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
And maybe
Exactly.
I'll call them and then maybe I'll ask them, or maybe I'll just look around for somebody else who doesn't have conflicting and is more clear on what their information is.
Yeah. I had one
Maybe I'll do
practice,
that.
actually. You might find this kind of amusing. I know this sounds very the mom in me coming out, but there was one practice that says, in on site we have a therapy dog. So when you come, just know that we have our therapy dog, whatever his name was, in the waiting room, and he loves pets, and I mean being petted. And so they said that that jumped their patient population overnight because people just wanted to come pet a puppy. And I just thought that was funny. I just thought, okay,
Yeah.
that can be calming. I mean, like that, I know I don't see that in offices. And they said they had to put it up there in case people were allergic, so that
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
something there. But I
Interesting.
thought that was an interesting angle. And they
Yeah.
said, it was one of our marketing tools. So it was just an interesting take to go in a left turn.
Yeah. Yeah. You said at the beginning, you know, you, the clients you work with, they don't have marketing, you're not aware of it. The best way I can think of to answer the question, should we add to our marketing or change our marketing or not? And by the way, marketing gets confused with promotion, like things we're talking about, websites, social media. That's sort of down the road. The first part is, what are the services we offer? What's different and valuable about us, et cetera, et cetera. And then how you promote that, where, social, online, offline, through, strategic relationships, whatever. That kind of comes later, but starts with, should I change anything or not? And the best way I can think of this is just to answer a quick two-part question. The first one is, are we happy with with our patient volume or the amount of business we're getting today? Yes or no? And there's no hard answer to that, but are we happy, satisfied? And the second question is, as far as we can tell, do we think that's going to continue in the future? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, yes, whatever it is you're doing is probably good enough. I mean, maybe you tweak a thing here or there, but you don't need to change too much because it's working and as far as you can tell, it's going to keep going. But if the answer is no to either one of those, then you ought to have a look because something's not working. And what that is, now, we're not happy with the amount of business we're getting today. That may or may not be a marketing problem, just to give an example. It could be a marketing problem if your online presence is a disaster or parts of it. It's kind of like the things that we've been talking about. That could be the reason. The other reason could be something operational on the inside. Like, I don't know, we're falling behind in the schedule. We're double booking and people are getting annoyed, or we're taking too long and patients are getting annoyed because they're waiting too long, or our front desk screws up the phone calls, or it could be anything. It could be, and if you fix those things, maybe then you could turn that first part around. So take take the same critical look at if we're not getting enough business that you do with your patients. Don't just call the diagnosis the first reflex idea you've got. Take a pretty deep look. This is your practice, right? And if you're happy with the amount of business you're getting today, but you see trouble on the horizon, take a critical look. If you're not happy, take a critical look. If it's a marketing problem, then if we were talking, we would tell you. If it's not, I've done this before. I've actually had prospective clients on a call, and it just hits me. You don't have a marketing problem at all. Your problem is somewhere over there. Don't hire any marketing before you fix that. Because if you do, you're going to take the true problem and make it even worse. So fix that first. Just like anything else, diagnose the problem, and then as best you can, call in help if you need. Try to find good, honest people. But that's how, and then it's what? So the answer is no to either one of those. All right, then what do we do? Well, it depends on what's causing it. But these are all can be diagnosed. The problem is X. The way we solve it is this. Let's go do it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I, spent a couple of days with this one very, very large practice, and this is kind of my ending note on it, where they were saying that it was, we're not promoting, we're not marketing, we're not this, we need to get our name out there. And I started looking at all the different places where they were listed and some of the complaints. I said, have you looked into your complaints like on TripAdvisor or on your social media or, just anything because patients usually fill out a survey with your payers. And the complaints were interesting. One was they didn't have a place to get a drink of water. Another one was, and that was a really big complaint, another one was they had uncomfortable chairs in the waiting room that did not also accommodate larger patients. Okay. And it was, and the other one was, we can hear what your people at your front desk are saying. There's no way to, put them behind. And I was like, whoa. And one complaint says, I don't really like the fact that I was being talked about by the front desk and everyone in the waiting room could hear it. So I shared this with the practice, and they said, the first thing they said, our chairs in the waiting room are uncomfortable. I'm like, let's go sit out there. So we went and sat out there, and they're like, these are terrible. So it was just kind of funny, Carl, that you say, find the problems first and see if it actually is marketing, and then fix those, and then, go after
and
that.
you did a good thing. I've done this with clients from time to time is go read your reviews.
Yeah.
And if you see the same comment, even remotely similar, twice, 15 more people are thinking it and just didn't bother to say it.
Just didn't bother to say it.
That's it.
And the payers ask for that survey. They do. And some practices even have that survey. And so payers determine who gets the next, managed care contract based on those surveys. And what I have found in some of those surveys is that it's not always about the doctor. It's about things before they even see the doctor. So those are things to take a look at and make sure you're there, and then look at your marketing and all that stuff.
But reviews, you can glean a lot. And so why was their patient volume down? Because readers of those reviews are saying, I don't want to be talked about. I don't want to sit in uncomfortable chairs. I don't want to
go in and worry about that. Exactly.
Sit in an uncomfortable chair and not get a glass of water and be talked about. That sounds horrible.
that doesn't sound fun at all.
I'm just going to go, I'll just find some other office.
That doesn't sound fun at all.
No, it sounds terrible. HIPAA aside, you and I probably went HIPAA. My mind, I went, oh my God, HIPAA. But people just don't want to be gossiped about.
They just don't want to feel uncomfortable. It's hard enough just to get a parking spot. Let's face it.
Right. It's a doctor's office. You don't want to feel right.
Yeah. You don't want to feel anything else.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is very useful, and I can't tell you how much, I really appreciate you joining me today, and hopefully we'll have you back again.
I appreciate it too. Thank you.
To find or contact Carl for consulting needs, you can go to the NSCHBC website at nschbc.org and click on Find a Consultant. Type in Carl's first name, it's Carl with a C, and his information will appear. Also, as a reminder, the nschbc.org website offers monthly free webinars on a variety of topics, as well as a quarterly Medicare regulatory update. Please go to nschbc.org and click on the tab Upcoming Education. We have a variety of topics for 2026 that you don't want to miss. So that's it for us today, everyone. Make it a great day and a great rest of your month. And thank you for listening to the award-winning NSCHBC Edge podcast. I'm your host, Terry Fletcher.
Thank you for listening to the NSCHBC Edge podcast. Join us on the second Tuesday of each month as our consultants tackle the complexities of navigating the business of medicine. You can reach us on the web at nschbc.org, the National Society of Certified Healthcare Business Consultants.